are again. Another little day in the lake. I know several of you guys had comments. Where you at? What's going on? Some of you even said, hey, we'd pay for a 30-minute video. Well, we don't take credit card, but we'd like a little payment here. Anyhow, we're getting ready to meet Captain Chris, headed out kind of a early summer fishing day on the lake. And I think I'd be kind of surprised on what we're going to do maybe compared to what we've been doing in the past on the water. Think of it, I don't want to tell you what the fish are going to want, but as a shallower version or less deep version of what we kind of did in the B-Team Bob summer deal last year. Because the fish this year, generally speaking, are fairly deep, and there's a lot of them out there. We're using some different tactics because, again, of either junk fish or small fish, and in this case, the junk fish are 8, 10, 11-inch walleyes or sub-legals. So we're going to have to do things a little bit different this year, and it's been really, really successful. So stay tuned for that. But you know, in the deep stuff, the other thing to not overlook, and I don't know if we're going to do it today just because of people and traffic, it's going to be so nice out, we're going to try to get away from everybody a little bit, is really, really shallow. That's another option that comes into play. Again, the biology end of it, you know, is oxygen. It's just a whole different thing. So that bite is very inconsistent though, but can be very good. My guess is today there'll be quite a few people on that, so we're going to try to stick away from that probably. But we've been doing a lot of stuff, so appreciate you guys being patient with us, because by the time you watch this, we'll probably be very close to going to ICAST, and that's kind of why we haven't been on camera as much. Obviously, a lot of guide trips rescheduling because of crappy weather. You guys have seen that. But we've got some baits and some things we've been working on, quite a few projects, but with Rapala in particular, you know, you guys are like, oh, why are you turning your back to me when you're unhooking this? Well, now you're going to get to see. In July, right now, ICAST, we're launching a new bait with Rapala we've been working on for like 2 years. Kind of exciting. So today's not about that, but that's what we've been doing. Stay tuned. So we got Captain Chris in the boat. Now, if you guys watched that last video I did with him, giant fish, a couple snafus. Chris, would you like to talk about that? I mean,
not really, but
I mean, there was some demerits. Bob's not the only one that gets demerits, so we're going to redeem ourselves today.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we got to work on no tangles and size of fish.
I mean, because you are a captain, right, Chris?
Yep.
I mean, okay. I just want to throw that out there. I might even get demerit. You never know. Probably not, but. Holiday weekend, already been crazy at the boat ramp. We should do a whole video just on that. People at the boat ramp. Little courtesy, please. And less goose poop. Less goose poop.
Guess who's back like a boomerang, sitting on the throne like I'm the King Charlemagne. When I bring the bass, I come to shake the house. Keep my whole team out your mouth. I'ma set it straight in case you get it twisted. Gone for a minute, I'm back, I'm on a mission. Looking for the greatest, I'm the definition. Y'all don't know what you've been missing. Get ready for the boom that's coming. Turn it up, go 0 to 100. I'm going in. I'm back at it again like. I'm back at it again like.
So we came off pad here. You can see there's quite a few marks. That's what you want to look for, is that little yellow in there. We got a bunch of disturbance, and we also got a couple little temperature breaks here. And as you can see, this is real quick. I had to freeze the screen. We were a little slow in the camera, and there's some bait. And you can also see there's nobody here. That's half the battle. Staying away from the knuckleheads. So we're using some dipsy divers on the inside. We're going to do like a 3 setting and a 1.5 setting. We got us an old little silver streak harness that I kind of home tied here, a little short leader, so we don't have to, we can just take that off and put a spoon on if we want. Got some little VMC number 1/0s, no flexing, except for right here. That's going to be what we call our high diver. This Once we get that one kind of peeling out, we got what we're going to call our low diver, which is going to be like a 1.5 setting here. And we got a little silver streak spoon. That's been absolutely just money. You got to be careful some days. The junk and the small fish like that really a lot, but so far everything's been like it. So we're going to put one of those on, kind of mix this up a little bit. So the stuff has kind of continued here. We've got just getting, Chris didn't have his divers down. We had a little snafu because he's got a actually decent fish that's pinned on the outside, both outside lead core. So we got a, what do we got, a 4 and a 5 out? So go ahead and pop that one because we're going to take that one around. And while he's doing that, there's no risk for the wicked. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get a diver down just to see if we can make this even a little more chaotic. Chris might have farmed his, but that's okay. We've got one on the little spoon we were just talking about. And we still got one on the lead core. So we don't have all the rods in the water. We've got pretty diverse spread. But generally speaking, we're fairly deep. I would say we're pretty much 20 plus on almost everything. Our high divers are a little high on at least one of them. And that's a good thing to do because it's gonna be away from the boat. And a lot of times that's gonna tell us if maybe we need to shorten up our lead core or our board rod. So you still got one there, don't you?
Yeah.
Chris didn't know he had one. Oh my gosh, Chris. Christopher. I mean, not too early for a demerit, but if it was Bob, you might have got one. You know what I mean? Oh! Oh!
That's a demerit.
Well, it's not a demerit because I had to, of course, take care of Chris, and I'm trying to bring in, and he wasn't ready for me.
Oh wait, which lure is that again?
Dude, that's the one. That's the one. We have sold Rapala out of it. Little walleye candy, Chris, Deep Junior Thunder Sticks.
Yep.
How good?
Very good.
Run the full-size ones? Okay. Little ones? Yummy. Putting the lead core out. With lead, they're dead. Little Shimano TR200. Oh boy. I hate to think of how many size walleyes like this there are out there. Whatever this is, 17 or 18. And we're just scarfing them in. Thunder stick. The Thunder Down Under has been just absolutely on fire with these good heater size. And them lead cores, a lot of days when the bite's a little spooky or a little off, that's the deal. Spoon! Another one on the spoon. Oh yeah. So the thing is, you know, these divers have been catching a lot of fish, but one thing when it's rough is, or just bouncing around, instead of putting heavy weights on, that lead core distributes that weight amongst a really long period. And so we just seem to catch them better on that. And also it just kind of floats up and down through that column. So, you know, if those fish are a little highs or doing little turns like this, we kind of got out of whack a little bit because we were catching fish. So much going on here. So Chris, is that another lead core fish?
Yep.
I'm gonna do like what I do with all my clients. I'm like, Chris, back up so I can take your board off for you.
Would you like me to reel it right into the tip?
Yeah, that's pretty much par for the course. But in all seriousness, you know, the deal here is this time of year is small baits dominate. So if you're not using little stuff, I'm not saying you ain't gonna get bit, but day in and day out, you get smoked. Like even the Thunder Sticks, using the full-size ones, don't get a lot of bites. Use the little ones, get a ton of bites. And so we gotta get those down some way. A little bait like this isn't gonna go 25, 30, 35, 40 feet on some of these rods. So obviously the dipsy divers with the shallow spoons, shallow Thunder Sticks on those will do that. But this little Thunder Stick gets out pretty easily when you're using the boards. Here we go. So a little rubber beckman is pretty handy when you're handling a bunch of fish. And I see a theme here. If you fished with me and Chris, you know it, but if you watched our video with B-Team Bob last summer, that bait, since you guys are like, what color? That one right there, deep junior thunderstick. Fish USA has been sold out of them so many times, I know that they're not just working for us. You know, so one of the things when you are doing this board stuff, and I don't care what you have out, but especially with the lead core, because there's quite a bit of line. We just got a good one on the outside, but we're not going to do anything with it yet. We're going to give Chris just a second because we've got that line back there, and we don't want this stuff to basket weave together when it's really not necessary. It's not going to change anything, because just probably 10 seconds or so, he's going to clip that board on, get that out of the way. And that way, if we get another fish on, maybe it's the dipsy diver or something like that, that we don't have something right on top of it. So you got to kind of think of like a three-dimensional thing. And sometimes you got to play chess here and don't play checkers, because everybody wants to jump on the rod and get it. But you got to think about that. One in the hand or two in the bush. I mean, Chris, you just caught one on that, and the same bait that's been on fire already has one. So I'm gonna check this, because with the dipsies, especially with these small fish and kind of where we got them in the water column, when in doubt, check them out. You gotta check, because so many times you're catching little dinkers. And so I'm kind of taking that opportunity to, right underneath Chris here, because he's got quite a bit of line out, you gotta remember. We're gonna make sure we ain't dragging anything, because I saw a couple comments. I know when all the fish are on my dipsies. You're either lying or not very smart, because even Chris, even you don't know when they're all on the dipsies, right?
No.
They drag, they hang. 5, 6, 7 pounders just swim right with you, and I don't care who you are. There's times you gotta, you won't know for a little bit. Paying attention to other things. Close. I know all you guys are going to focus on just buying these. That's great. I'm sure Rapple and Storm appreciate that. But it's really the whole system, right, Chris?
Yep.
You got, the lead core to get that little bait down. If you put that on a snap weight, I'm not saying you're not going to catch fish, but it's going to be a totally different presentation than what we're doing. Like, totally. Guess
what color?
Guess what it's on. The thing is the bite is obviously really good this morning, but it's a little off from some of the chaos we've had. And kind of noticed that by watching the divers, we've had several rods bang and then they're off right away on the dipsies. And so a lot of times when that happens with the planer board stuff, what we like to do, again, because we don't have that weight at one point and all that's distributed, so it's more subtle up and down, is we'll just kind of wiggle that boat back and forth and cause some of those fish that are following the smoke, because as we're reeling that in, when I'm going to check that inside diver, when I was just about ready to net that for Chris, we have a shallow thunder stick on that one, and it looked like it got chomped on. So I'm going to have Chris actually slide over here, and I'm going to check this underneath just to be sure. And it did not stay hooked up, I don't think, but again, can't say it enough. Don't drag them, check your stuff. So again, you kind of like pumping rods if you're bass fishing or doing something like that, all these little triggers. We've got a bunch of fish. As soon as we engage the board, as we're letting it back out, we get bit again. And that just happened here on this one. You can see it's pretty much doubled over, but Chris is setting what's that inside line. So again, out of efficiency, we don't want to start reeling that in. We're going to get the other line out first, and then we're going to trip that around it and make what was the inside the outside. Oh, high diver's trip. So again, we got a smorgasbord of stuff going on. This one, we're kind of sleeping. I'm going to blame Chris, but it went real high. So we got a harness on this, on the high diver, which is a 3 setting, so that's going to plane out a lot farther to the side. in doing this, you really got to have, you know, a good buddy or eyes in the back of your head, because there's just a lot going on, and you really got to pay attention. And again, the paranoia, obviously different bodies of water, it's going to be different, but if you're in Winnebago, you all got lots of small fish. But on Erie, in the summertime like this, we've got millions of them, and you got to prepare for it. Chris is going to put the old Beckman underneath this little fella. But again, on this dipsy fish, you know, noticing that there was a strike, you didn't trip it, but that line angle was so high, because it just, you know, you think about you putting a couple pounds of weight behind that thing, it just lifts that angle up. And we've got an entire video just on the dipsy diver stuff, so check that out. People seem to like that one. Whoa. I don't know where all those VMCs are at, but I'm kind of scared. I don't see them. You got to locate them hooks before you just start going grabbing crazy. But that's a #1 VMC, which is what we use on these summertime rigs because they don't flex. And then Chris showed him we got that old Silver Streak double willow, because again, we want to match, yeah, you could use Colorado blades, but we want to match the speed that we're doing with the lead core, which is generally going to be faster. So we're like 2.4, somewhere around that range. And as you can see, we've caught them on a little bit of everything: spoons, harnesses, cranks. And that's good, because some days you just catch a lot of more fish on one of those, and then you can kind of double down. Like if we really want to see how fast we can get off the water, we'd be pulling, what is that, gold mixed veggies or something? You know, just watching subtle things with your line angle. This isn't a big fish or anything, but you don't want to tow them around. The spoon, you know, really catches a lot. I think you have to check that rod probably more than anything. Smallest lure, they just seem to catch kind of everything. Obviously we caught a couple, let's call them non-target species, but I'm pretty sure this is the right flavor here. I just barely just changed that line angle. And so a lot of times what I'm actually doing is I'm looking at the other side of the boat to see what's going on there. Because we're kind of going cross current right now. Here, Chris, be a pal. Spoons, spinners, and cranks. Oh my! I think our outside lead core there, Chris, huh?
Yep.
So again, everything's a story, you know, just watching these, seeing maybe if your size is, that one's probably just on the short end of the eating list, but the big thing you'll see is, you know, we're normally letting fish go. Me and Chris have a ton of fish from early in the season. We don't need to be meat maggots, but most of these fish right now, this kind of temperature breaks about 35 feet down. That's where a majority of these bites are coming. And you let the fish go. Realistically, between the surface temp is, you know, upper 70s, the fish are pretty much dead. So we're gonna keep some when we can. So again, a couple little tips here as Chris reels that one in. We're using 1/0 VMC hooks because we don't want the flex there. You want a little bit bigger hook, a little more gap there, especially when you're going this fast. And then what we're gonna do is we got our dipsy. We're gonna kind of throw this thing in, and then we're basically gonna start planing it out to the side to make sure, because this is our high one, our 3 setting, that we don't get tangled up in the line on the way down with our, or we're gonna call it our low diver, or like our 1.5 right there. Don't do that, you got a hot mess. See Chris tripped that one around. The big thing is just efficiency with this. Making sure you keep all those lines going, you don't get tangled, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we did some tangling last time, Chris, didn't we? That was, we're gonna blame no cameraman, is what we're gonna blame on that one. But this is definitely a deal where if your buddy's got his phone out, throw it in the lake or put it in the glove box, because you've got to be watching the rods at all times.
We got one. Like down rod.
Like you've got to be watching them just like that. This one actually tripped it on a spoon. I'm not convinced this is the right flavor, but this might be, Chris, this might be the wrong species. It is. So yeah, we've had a couple of these. I mean, we're not going to pull the spoon yet, but we're definitely not going to put out more. We've had a lot of days where we're catching a dozen on one of these. But again, maybe it's a color or whatever, but different days, different things. So that's one of the reasons we like those body baits so much. And again, doing multiple things. If you got a buddy helping, like I'm gonna let this board out that was our inside, make that the outside as Chris gets going on what was that outside. That's a nice one. Oh. So Chris, you swapped up a little bit on me here. You did a little color swap.
Yeah.
You know, I thought there was gonna be some tequila in my life, but instead you gave me blueberries.
But it definitely catches them.
That's a little nicer one for the summertime. He wasn't hooked real good, but he was hooked good enough. But again, you know, the theme here is you're just gonna see is we tried some bigger baits kind of accidentally. They don't catch them. Oh, there's, look at this. I just missed the hole. There's your answer. So this is before I even saw that, right? That's why you need the small baits. I don't know what those are. They're probably small perch or small walleyes or who knows. But the point is, this is what those fish are eating. So go big, probably gonna go home with nothing. Pay attention to your live well. So being good at this is really doing more than one thing at a time, and that's why, you know, we're checking a dipsy, we're resetting this one, Chris is getting this one set up, and you just got to do more than one thing at a time, because if you don't, you're either going to miss the fish or you're going to get, you know, a little shorty that's going to, one of the worst things that they can do besides just dragging them is they'll tangle into other lines, especially on the dipsies. So you got to check those things just kind of non-stop. And then take that opportunity to, you know, put a different setting out, which is basically going to make it shallower or deeper. And one of the things that, you know, this program works really well into even the later summer. The only disadvantage to it is you need quite a few reels. That's why I'm using these Shimano TR200s. They're not really expensive, and because you're going to need a bunch of them. Like these, the colors that we're using right now, when we shoot our, will probably be our next video down in the summertime there, like we did with old B-Team Bob, we're just going to be fishing a whole lot deeper. You know, the thermocline is going to be deeper, the smelt are going to be deeper. Here we're shallower water, even though the fish are deep, they're beyond the point that you could just put out a crankbait, put it on a board by itself. It just doesn't work. So, and we need small. That's the thing. A lot of these baits that will get deeper, you know, they're big. And we actually kind of accidentally, I didn't even tell Chris, you know, he's setting those divers up this morning. We didn't catch anything on the stick bait, and I'm like, man, that thing's been so good. And we had a full-size thunder stick, the one with 3 hooks on it, and we literally didn't catch a single fish on it. So I just swapped that out with a junior, the smaller one. So I'm willing to bet that that will start catching. And it really, even as good as the bite is and as many fish as we're catching, I mean, most cases we're getting a limit in an hour every day. You put them big baits on, you just don't get bit nearly as much. And this morning, not at all on that one.
The walleye wizard working its magic.
Wow.
Oh, we got a diver.
Oh, that might be a sheep, and that's going hard. All right, we got a little double action. This is another reason I really like my my releases set pretty heavy, because we don't want those fish to come out unless I want them to come out, because Chris is, you know, reeling one over here. If we had another one, a great thing would be a caster piece. Look at that teamwork. That's the dream work. Now netting with this long leader, and this rig will be a little bit of a debacle, but here we go. You got to be set up for these kind of chaos moments. That's why you notice we got a bunch of extra rod holders. We got the tubes in the back here to clear. I've actually gone to using a Bert's cradle, which I used to use back in the day, up front just to get rods out of the way, and for these leadcore rods, swapping through them quickly. This is the wrong one.
Here he comes. Gonna flip him. Alright, got him. It's the walleye wizard.
You just like saying that.
Well, you know.
You just like saying that out loud. Here. Hold that. Alright. Crankbaits, little fellas. So one of the things I like to do with the lead core is we've got 30-foot leads on it, and that's nice because in case you have to cut and retie, you don't have to get rid of the whole thing. But the other thing that it does is in the, the clean water and that, I think it does help with the spook factor. But the other thing I really like is when you're letting it out, then it's not going to start sinking. So I can set it almost on top of these dipsy diver rods right now, because by the time it gets out, it's going to be far enough away that it can't tangle basically. Because now what I can do is Chris is letting one out just a few feet away. So I'm putting the rod kind of outwards like we had a bottom bouncer or something. And now we can set two that are for the port side at the exact same time. So, yeah, I'm always giving Bob a hard time about food in the mouth. But we had hard-boiled eggs, which are very quiet, unlike me. They're more like Chris, they're quiet. But what we got here is, here's the deal. We just switched over to the shallow thunderstick junior. And we got, I think it's a walleye bite. I'm gonna go with it. We had the big one out by accident because we were using that when we were winding down the other day, just to see if we get bigger bites or keep some of the small ones off. No bites, zero. Put the little one on, a couple minutes. Oh yeah. Chris, will you net my walleye? Look at that. Little bait. Nice fish. Out in the net. That's just clean living right there. But again, you see, like when you're using these dipsies, I know some people ask, so here we go. Watch our dipsy diver video, that's all we're doing. But little lips like that. You don't want a deep diver because the dipsy's doing the diving. So shallow lip, spoons, harnesses, things like that. That's the deal. So when you're doing this, one of the most important things is your speed, and not necessarily because you're only going to catch them at one speed or the other, but when you're using things like we are today, like the lead core or the dipsy divers or anything with weight, 80 back, 100 back, 50 back, whatever that number is it's totally different at 1.8 miles an hour versus 2.2 or on and on and on. So the easiest thing to do is put the fish hawk down, because on days like this where it's really flat, that current will surprise you as far as what you're actually doing. So we've got that down 28 feet, which is approximately where we're catching a lot of the fish. I like to put it generally just a little bit above. A little paranoid with the spooking thing after watching so many of those fish on Mega Live kind of spook from the boat. But nevertheless, so we're doing here a couple tenths less than what we think we are on the speed over ground. So when we spin back around here, I bet that number is going to change quite a bit too. So we're actually driving off the fish hawk and we're using it as a reference. I mean, the exact miles per hour doesn't really matter, but we want to get in the game and just see if we're doing a lot more or less than what we think we are with the speed over ground. But we want to be able to duplicate that number and make sure that our baits are where we think they are, where they should be are. And then also when we pick up and make another pass, that we can duplicate that as the wind changes or the angle changes, you name it. A lot of factors changing that you don't pay attention to. I do. I have a walleye too. We just need a little change of direction. We might let you hoist that. I don't like doing that for messing with my crankbait.
The blueberry muffin one again.
So we were out here gabbing, and it just goes to show you, you don't go on autopilot. You guys that fish with me know why I don't like a autopilot on my kicker. Kind of moving things around, because I like that natural hunting or variance. And we got 3 in 2 seconds by just doing a little turn. And the thunder sticks continue to thunder down. saw that stuff we showed you in the live well there, tiny little, maybe an inch long deal. You almost can't use something too small. You guys have you ever seen them baby thunder sticks? They quit making them about 20 years ago. If you guys have any, I'll negotiate a trade with you. I wish we had some right now. Oh, hi diver, hi diver. What, it jerked himself right off. That didn't sound good. Kid friendly show, not really. Nice one. Chris, I don't know if you've noticed this. Now our little mixed veggies one is our favorite, and it's out in the net. But this one, the old blueberry muffin, that's like an old color brought back. That has been really better on our better fish today. Almost all of our better sized fish, including this little chunky monkey. And I think that's gonna call it a wrap on our little leadcore and dipsies, spoons, stick baits, harnesses, everything. So appreciate you guys tuning in. You know, this is kind of a shallower version of what we've been doing in the summer, and we're probably going to do later this year as well. But when you need to get the dog days of summer and catch them, leadcore, dipsies, that's all you need. So hopefully you enjoyed this kind of dog days of summer that weren't so dog, were they, Chris?
No, it was a good day.
Lots of catching. You know, the big thing this time of year is you're gonna have to fish deeper than normal, out of your comfort zone a little bit. A lot of the baits and things that you do aren't gonna get there. That's why we're using that leadcore and the dipsies. But smaller is better. Pretty much the smallest baits you can use and still catch them, you're gonna catch a lot more fish. And then if you aren't, you can upsize a little bit, you know, when you're getting shorts and things like that. But today, you saw that bait, tiny. So until the next episode, make sure you tune in to bigwaterfishing.com, Instagram, Facebook, our podcast,